Oh, so we live. Hey, welcome again to the morning barbecue where we barbecue in the morning, family talk. It's your boy Coach A.
Got B in the building.
Chef Jimbo.
You got your boy Nick.
Yes,
And
sir.
down at the bottom, our special guest, the lovely Miss Marjorie Foster. I like how you switched it up, how it's supposed to be.
How you doing
So,
today?
Thank you for joining us.
Thank
so
you.
guys, are you sending the intro today?
We're gonna do the intro like we do every week.
Okay, so what we doing, ladies and gentlemen, we have an awesome show. We have some guests that's coming in. Again, we're talking about addiction and recovery. And so we want you to stay tuned. You'll be able to answer a few questions, and you're going to learn about Miss Marjorie's story and how she dealt with addiction and how she was able to overcome it as well. So stay tuned. Keep it back. We'll be right back.
So good. Tell them I ain't mad, they ain't no. You know I ain't mad if you love it. Can't nobody ever take this moment from me. So nigga, while I got it, the fuck it, it's all good. It's all good. Straight up, it's all good. Tell them it's all good. Tell them I ain't mad if they ain't no. You know I ain't mad if you love it. Can't nobody ever take this moment from me. So nigga, while I got it, the fuck it, it's all good.
All right, Brandon. Good job on hitting that live button without giving Coach A or nobody a heads up. He just said go live and put it. Come on, man.
Go live. That remind me of that old song. Go live. Go live.
Hey,
Y'all too young for that. My bad.
you ain't never got to get ready if you're already ready.
Exactly.
All right,
Exactly.
Let's get it.
So again, just to remind everybody, today we are talking about addictions and recovery. Very touchy subject for some people, and for most of us, we all have been impacted in some form or way by either a loved one or ourselves that's dealing with addiction or have dealt with addictions in the past. And so we have the lovely Miss Marjorie. She is the head or the founder of New Creations Ministry of America. She also has a recovery fest that she does every year. It's called Hope Lives on Recovery. It's in Bradenton, Florida. And so please welcome Miss Marjorie Foster. How you doing?
Good morning. Good morning. I'm good. How are you doing? Good morning,
We're
everybody.
doing good.
Morning.
We're doing good.
Awesome.
So obviously we want to get, a little bit into your story, but before that, we just want to, let people know that the addiction crisis is definitely real. Just a few, I don't know if it was 3 or 4 years ago, I remember that our county, Manatee County, was ranked in the whole state of Florida.
Absolutely.
And it seemed like, and I remember it seemed like every day we was hearing somebody overdosing. It was crazy, crazy, crazy. And I remember it had gotten so bad that the police had to carry that, I forget what it's called. It's the chemicals that offset
Narcan.
overdose. Yes, the Narcan. So that if they came up on somebody and they was overdosing, they didn't even have to be a doctor. They just had this stuff, and they was able to administer it to them to bring them back, and it literally brought people back to life. It was the craziest thing. There's a lot of Yes, there was a lot of videos out there that you can see police administering this stuff, and you can see the people just fading away. And so after a while, the police was able to talk to them. It was a real crazy time. I remember that.
It's still it's still happening. It's not a crazy time. It's a crazy now. It's still happening.
Yeah, and that was my next point, is that even though we don't talk about it, because obviously the focus has shifted, it's still happening and still just as bad. Just the only difference is it's not a focal point where we're not talking about it that often, and you don't see it in the news. And so our, being us as humans, whenever we don't see it we feel like it's not there. And so that's why we have, people like you that's out there to make sure that we don't forget, right? And it keeps us connected. So if we see somebody that's suffering, we can feel like, you know what, it is you. There's people out there that can help you. There's people out there that can help you. So again, Margie, we thank you for speaking up. Jimbo, you had something to add?
Yeah. I don't know if you were going to ask it, but I had a question real quick. Miss Marjorie, but before we get, I know why we're here, and I know what we're going to talk about. But
she married, Jimbo, so back off. Back off. I know you're looking at that smile, but I'm just telling you, my sister married. That's why I say foster. Okay, so go ahead.
Hey, Mocha Queen in the building, man.
Exactly. I already know.
So, but myself and the listeners, if you don't mind, could you let us know some general information, like where you were raised, some general information about your life before we get into all the addiction stuff and your business,
right?
Like how everything started.
Absolutely. I was born and raised in Sarasota, Florida. I spent the most part of my life there, but I also was in Bradenton and Palmetto as well, because my dad's side of the family lived in Manatee County. My mom's side of the family lived in Sarasota County. And so I spent time with both families. So I was born and raised primarily in Sarasota, but spent a lot of time in Manatee County as well. It's not a whole lot to tell. I mean, I'm an only child. So I was my mother's only child. And I don't know.
Spoiled.
Somewhat. Yeah, I mean, it's not a whole lot to tell. I went to school in Sarasota. I don't know. What else you want to know?
What school in Sarasota?
Well, McIntosh, as far as middle school is concerned, I unfortunately became pregnant at an early age at 15. And so I left middle school, to go to a school for pregnant girls called SAIS. So I went there for a while till after I had the baby, and then ended up leaving there. But I did return to obtain my GED and go from there. So yeah.
Awesome. That's awesome, because a lot of women, they get pregnant at a young age. They try to tough it out in school, regular school, and so just to know that there's a school for pregnant women that can help you, achieve graduation or even a GED, whatever it takes to get to that point is awesome in itself, because we know that nowadays it's unfortunate, but being pregnant at an early age, it happens. My mom had me when she was 15. I look at even now, like at 47, I look at my birth certificate and be like, dang, 15, mom, how you 15? Like, she's a trooper, boy. So you got to be, it's a strong woman to be able to do that.
Yes, definitely. It is a lot to handle having a kid at a young age. It's, especially when, I don't know how your mom grew up, but when you don't have that, when you don't have a lot of support, then it's even it compounds the difficulties. So yeah, it's really tough.
Absolutely. So obviously we don't have a whole lot of time with you, so we don't, we're not going to keep you that long. So we just want to get into some questions, guys. If you have any questions, please just chime in and go ahead and ask them. But I just want to kind of lead to make sure that we get some of the valid points out. And so, and she was on, our podcast, my podcast, yesterday.
Shout out to Impact.
Yeah. Thursday it was. And so I was gonna ask you if drugs was introduced, or if you had an issue with drugs while you was in school, but I mean, obviously I've learned that it was a lot earlier than even high school, right? Because you're talking your experimentation with drugs started at 12 years old.
Right. Yeah. It started at a very young age. And just like you said, experimentation. Not, of course, not full blown addiction at that time, but
Mhm.
it was an introduction, an opening of a door to a child, for what came later on in my life. But, through it all, yeah, while I was in school, there were times that drugs were involved. There were different students at the school who were also doing drugs, and I
Mhm.
don't know, for whatever reason or however, um, we always end up linking up. We always end up clicking. I don't know if it was, just,
It's
I don't know, I
energy.
guess you're drawn to, yeah, it's that energy, that you're drawn to. So we end up linking up from time to time, and hanging out. But it was, like I said, it was just a experimentation at that time.
Mhm. So if obviously you mentioned that you being the only child and you had a lot more freedom, probably too much at sometimes you alluded to the last time. So if
Hmm.
if you have a lot stronger foundation or somebody that was really paying close attention, do you feel like it would be different for you? At least you wouldn't have started at such a young age. The reason I'm asking is because other parents, they have kids 12, 13, 11, 10
Right.
that's coming up. And I think it's important for them to understand that if they're involved and really paying attention to their child, that it can help deter. It
Right.
might not stop it completely. There's always that risk, but at least it'll deter it.
Right. Most definitely. I feel like having a close relationship with your child, having that structure and those boundaries in place for your child really gives them, helps them to focus and know which way to go, and helps them to make positive decisions. Even if kids sometimes do things um, that aren't the best decisions or the best things for them to do, they still have that guidance in place. They still have that foundation of support, and they still have someone to look to when they just don't know what to do. I
Hmm.
feel like if I had that, my life would have turned out all the way different. I used to look at my other cousins, and they had a very good support, by their mom, and they had a very good support system. They did things together with their family, with the mom. They did things. They went on outings, you know, and it was just a really good structure and
Hmm.
for them. And I always looked at them, with envy and wanting to have that same thing. But never really had it. So I know that if I had it, my life would be different. Like their life, I mean, right now my life is good. I'm not
Hmm.
complaining at all. It is what it is. It just I went a different route about things, and my other family members, they've all had their struggles too. That's not to say that you won't end up doing something. It's just to say that you have more of a understanding that these things are not right, these things aren't for you, those people aren't for you to hang around. You kind of have someone to go to, if you
Right.
really need and want that person.
Yeah, and the statistics show that when you engage within your child and kind of purposely deter them from taking drugs. Well, no, not like this. It says that if a child is kept away from drugs at until older age, they are less likely to become addicted. That means if obviously if they experiment at a younger age, then they're highly likely to become addicted later. So the object is to keep them away from it, shield them, keep it away from them as long as possible, so
Hmm.
that whenever they become introduced to it, if they become introduced to it or whatever situation is, it's just like a passing thing. They'll be like, that ain't nothing. So we would hopes that the statistics show that a 50% less chance. So staying in your child's life and keeping them away is very important.
It's very important. Yes, it's definitely good to keep them in different activities. Like my cousins, they all cheered, or they all did
Hmm.
gymnastics, or they all had
Purpose.
some sort of outside activity that they were involved in. So, yep, it's definitely a good thing to do. I never had any of that. of those activities. So I always fell into just kind of wandering around and trying to find something to do. So yeah.
Yeah, and interesting enough, you mentioned that in school, being into the drug scene or like that, you would always find the other kids that was into the drug scenes as well. Not
Hmm.
like it's not like you was looking for them purposely. You just guys somehow just kind of gravitated to each other. And so, that just speaks about the energy and,
Right.
people, alike attracts alike. So, it's very important that if you're, feel a certain way or you have a certain behavior, you're going to be attracted to that same type of behavior in other people. It's just, obviously, but
Right.
go
You got
ahead,
some
Jim.
Jimbo?
So quick question. How long did your addiction last? I saw your interview Thursday. I saw the majority of it, but
Mhm.
for our listeners that's watching that didn't catch Adrian's, like how long was that process that you went through?
Well, when I got fully, when I became fully addicted and really, went into just using, and that became a lifestyle for me. I started that in 94, like 94, 95. And I didn't get into recovery. I didn't start trying to get my life together until 2000 around 2001. So it was around 94, 95,
7 years.
about 7 years, 7, 8 years, somewhere around there. And then the journey from addiction to being okay, that's also a process, because within that time frame, I stayed clean. I stayed clean for 7 years. Got my life together, and just end up getting connected with someone who wasn't for me. Really, my first husband, it was just a very negative relationship, and little did I know that he was using. He was
Mm,
using, and through it all, he kind of pulled me back into um, that pattern of behavior, using
Okay.
and just living that lifestyle. So after I had gotten everything together, I was doing well, had a great job, doing what I really wanted to do. Had my kids back in my life and just was living a good life. Fell back into that um, lifestyle because of trying to be,
influence.
yeah, because of that negative influence. Yeah.
So you got to tell a beautiful story about how you got out. Like what?
I was gonna ask that. Like, what was the moment? I'm sorry to cut you off,
No,
Jimmy.
you good. Go ahead.
But what was the moment where you felt in your life while you're in the middle of the addiction, while it's full strong? What was the moment where you were like, okay, I gotta get over this. I gotta start living my life better. I gotta be better. When was that moment? What was that? When was that moment? And what was that moment? And what's the thought process of getting to that moment?
Right. So in 2000, I had been to jail a few times, out there doing what you have to do to take care of your habit. You do crazy stuff. So I had been in jail a few times. And the last time I got arrested, I had a high quantity of drugs on me. And because of the record that I had, I was scoring to prison. I was facing prison time. And so the lawyer that I had got me on drug court. Well, anyway, long story short, through that process, and through staying in jail, and having that time to think and have my head clear, I really began to pray. Really began to get real with the Lord. I have had a foundation of going to church and knowing God, and I've always been close to the Lord. um but being there, and just being able to be in my right mind, and knowing that I didn't want to live that life anymore, I just really started to pray and really began to reach out and cry out to God and ask him to change my life. I really beg God to change my life. And it just really seemed like things started to take a different turn for me. Things started to happen differently. I got on drug court. I was able to get out of jail. I was able to go into um, a halfway house, with a
Mhm.
recovery house. And then from there, I was able to go into a long term inpatient treatment center, and I was able to complete that. And throughout all this time, I'm just really focusing my heart, my mind, my soul on just on knowing the Lord, on allowing Him to set a firm foundation under me, allowing Him to change my mindset. It said be transformed by the renewing of your mind. So I allow Him to renew my mind, and it just everything just really changed for me in that moment. So from 2001 onward was actually my point of transformation. And it's just a matter of me living for the Lord, and doing what He called me to do throughout that time, and even into right now, because it's a process, but the process never ends. The
Mhm.
process never ends. And so I'm always being transformed. I'm always renewing my mind. I'm always in prayer. I'm always trying to help other people, because I relapsed several times in that, which is it is a part of the process. It doesn't have to be. When you're in recovery, relapse does not have to be a part of the process, but 9 times out of 10 it will be. So, but having God and having that foundation to hold on to. So I didn't have the support before. I didn't know, how to reach out or who to talk to or whatever before. But being able to know that I could always go to my Father and pray and ask for help and seek help, and He would never leave me out there. And that's what I did. And it just changed my situation.
So,
I
quick
got.
question: Did you? I'm sorry. Go ahead, Nick.
Oh yeah, quick question. I mean, obviously now it's easier for you to tell your story, but at what point, I guess, was it at a time that you really couldn't tell your story, or how was it for you coming out telling your story?
Good
Good
question.
question, Nick. Good question.
It it was a difficult time because I had a lot of issues with remembering, like that whole back part of my life was a blur, just a blur with everything that I've done, everything that I've experienced, everyone that I've dealt with. It was a blur because, drugs affect people differently. And for me, it kind of took away a lot of the memories. Like my memory was very spotty. So even though I wanted to share, and I went on a few, I went to a few organizations to speak with people, it it was tough, difficult, because whenever I would start talking, I would forget. I would not be able to go back. That's why I'm really not good with dates, and like the ages, and time frames. I'm not good with that, but because I forget sometimes, and that's basically due to the drugs that I did. Um, but it was worse back then when I first came out, because I really could not remember stuff, and I couldn't just think to talk to people about what I had gone through, because I had so many holes, and so. But I think that the impact on that was them seeing me, because I was telling Adrian on Thursday that I did go to a juvenile justice center, and at the time I was pretty young. Um, I went to the juvenile justice center, and I remember this one, and my memory is getting so much better. It is so much better than it was before. But I remember going to the juvenile justice center and speaking with the young men that were there, and they were very interested in hearing from me because I was young, and
Mhm.
closer to their age range than the other people who were with me. And so when it came to me to tell them what I had gone through and experienced and what have you, I couldn't bring the story out because I couldn't remember, and I started to cry because it scared me because I couldn't remember. But I think that the intensity of me not being able to remember, and that being a byproduct of my drug use, I believe that really made an impact in their lives, to see, you know, this is what can happen, this and far worse, so
Mhm.
sometimes, well, all the time, however God has things laid out, however He has them planned out, I've learned to trust Him in all things. I've learned to just let go and let God and let Him do it, no matter what the outcome is. I feel like it's all done for His glory. Whatever my story is definitely for His glory. So however He
Mhm.
lays it out is how I present it.
So, Marjorie, we got Johnny Drip on the side. He's one of our regular panelists too. How you doing, Johnny?
What's up,
Good
Johnny
morning.
Drip Drill?
Hey
Just so
man, how
you know
y'all
who's over
doing?
there. You got any
Morning.
questions, Johnny?
Um,
Okay.
not really.
Just making sure. Just wanted to make sure we introduced you, so you didn't think he was just some stranger peeking in on us. So, Margie, listen, I have another question for you, right? So, when because you have a beautiful story, and it's going to help millions of people, obviously. But when I got on the podcast a while ago talking about, it was like during Father's Day, and I mentioned a couple of things, relating to my mom, how she had me earlier, or the couple different guys that I met that was into my life. And so she was like, "Great, Adrian, you put my business out there like that." And so my question to you, obviously, when we have our stories to tell, it involves other people. And so we try to separate because it's just our story, but people can't help but connect dots. So how do your family feel when you begin to tell your story? Because just the simple fact said, okay, a 12-year-old, you know, experimenting with drugs or doing this and that, like who was your parents, or who was watching you, or where's, what I'm saying? So how do your family feel when you begin to give out your testimony, and did you have to overcome that and be like, you know what, this is just my story, I apologize if it hurt you, but this is what I have to do.
Right. And like, I haven't shared my story a whole lot. Like, I provide a platform or a place for other people to share their stories, and I give bits and pieces. Like when I'm doing my groups, when I do my drug court groups, or if I'm at the jail, or talking to somebody at the hospital or wherever in the community, I will share bits and pieces. But mostly it's to allow you to share your story. So I really have not shared my story very often, and they haven't heard it as detailed as I've been giving it lately. But I've talked
Mhm.
with my cousin, and she just can't believe that that was my mom. That is what I
Wow.
had to deal with growing up, and I understand that whenever they
Mhm.
do take time to watch and listen, if they really look back and see the pattern of things that what's going on with me, they will see, they'll be able to put the dots together and see how I was really living. Because as a kid, and you're doing stuff with your family, when
Mhm.
that other person is not there, you really don't think much about it, until they come
Right.
there, and then they're just there. But but you don't really think about what they're dealing with and what they're going through at their house. And see,
Mhm.
my house, whenever they came to my house, whenever I was with my mom, my house was the fun house, right? So they could come over there and do whatever they want to do. It wasn't no rules at my house, but they didn't realize that that was my life all the time. You know,
Wow.
um, so
So,
I mean,
well, we want to get into some of the stuff that you're doing now, to help. But before then, we do have a question. Um, yes, that's exactly where I was going. What advice would you give uh, someone who's dealing with their family member going through addiction?
oh God, I would just tell them to be real honest. Be careful who you are talking to about it. Of course, we all have those people that we gravitate to and feel more comfortable talking with. But you want to make sure that when you're talking to someone about your addiction, you're not talking to someone that's going to make you fall deeper into a pit. You know what I mean? Because a lot of times, like
This is a family member's advice to someone who has a family member, right? They have their family, like you, like for instance, like if I had a cousin or uncle or somebody that's battling with addiction, what advice would you give me on how to help that particular person?
oh, okay. Well, just be there for them. You know what I mean? Let them know that you understand. Don't ridicule. Don't make them feel smaller or lesser than. You know what I mean? Try to be understanding, and forgiving, and kind of leading them in a path where they could get some help. Because
Hmm.
it's difficult. It's difficult when you're out there and you're in the streets and you feel like the whole world is against you. But
Hmm.
just that one word of compassion, that one word of support, that one hug, that one person telling you, it's gonna be okay. This too shall pass. You're gonna be all right. It's help out here if you want it, and I'll help you if you want me to. If you really want to change your life, and I know you can do it. Let's do this, and be there for them. When they really are ready, be there for them. No matter what you have to do, who you have to call, be there for them. And if you can pull other family members in, do that. Don't let it take too long. Don't let it be too long where they've been out there for years and years and years and years and years. You know, um, just try to be there when you see it happening, when you start to recognize it. Be there early on.
So going through that stage, just showing them love and support
Mhm.
as best you can, like giving them food, like if they don't have food or stuff
Right.
like that, just making sure you're always there. They will never forget that. And
Mhm.
then what about, I guess obviously so many people probably tell them about, you need to check yourself in here, or you need to do this, you need to do that. So,
Mhm.
is that a good idea to be strongly encouraging them, or just continue to show them love and just kind of nudge them, be like, if you need help, there's a place you can go? Or so what would you at your advice to that?
Right. Yes, you always want to provide them with resources.
Mhm.
Give them places that they can go, people that they can talk to. A lot of times, a person doesn't want to go into like a treatment center, but you have outpatient services. So, um, if you can get the information and the resources together, then yeah, give it to them. Give it to them. Let them know that you'll help them through the process, whatever it may be, and that they have options. They don't have to be out there in the streets. They don't have to use drugs. They have family members, family support, family that loves them. They're not alone. Let them know that they are not alone, and no matter how they feel, because sometimes, doing those drugs, it pulls us down into such a pit that of despair, and sometimes we get disgusted with ourselves and with our actions,
Mhm.
because it's hard to pull yourself out of that mindset, when you become so addicted, and then you think the whole world is against you, and maybe you'd be better off just not here in it, but you want to strongly encourage them and let them know that, you are loved, and you're never alone. You're never going to be alone. Give them your phone number. Make sure they have family members' phone numbers, and tell them to call. Tell them to reach out whenever they need to, anytime,
Support.
you know.
So um there's a street, right? It's called Recovery.
Yeah.
And you saying that and so that's where the hope lives. Tell us
Right.
about that.
Hope lives in
You like how
recovery.
I did
Well,
that, huh?
hope lives in recovery. Yes, it is a street that you journey down. It's a long road. It's a lifelong road. It's a lifelong process. And hope lives in recovery, which is the name of the movement of
Mhm.
New Creation Ministries of America. Hope lives in recovery, which is the Recovery Fest every year. That came about because in 2013, my son was murdered. And there's a
Mm.
saying in the recovery community that if the drugs don't get you, the lifestyle will.
Mm.
So, and my son wasn't a big drug dealer, he just sold a little weed on the side to get by, but he liked to hang out in those places. He liked to hang out in the trap house, and he liked to feel like those guys were his friends or whatever. But it was those same guys that that murdered him.
Wow.
And anyway, in 2013, so I had just started my recovery journey over again in 2012. So I was less than a year clean and trying to hold on, trying to hold on through it all, trying not to lose my mind,
Mhm.
trying not to go back into, using. I didn't want that. I didn't want that for my other kids. One of the main goals, while I was out there was for me not to ever be an embarrassment to my kids. They were getting older, you know, and I saw how some moms would deal with their kids and how disrespectful the kids were to their parents, to their moms who were out there using drugs. But I never wanted to be that for my kids. I never wanted them to experience that. I never wanted them to, to see me like that. So that was a major part of my recovery journey. And so, for me to lose my son like that,
Mhm.
it took every breath I had out of
A
me.
lot. So
Took
at the
everything. So,
recovery, I was gonna say at the recovery fest, that you have this awesome DJ that was there. He does a great job. But what else that goes on there? You know.
well, okay. So, okay, let me finish about Hope Lives On. So that's where the Hope Lives On name came from, because when I lost my son, I lost all hope. And he that I knew that my hope was in Christ, but also in recovery. So,
Hmm.
um, Hope Lives On. It does have an amazing DJ, Mr. Adrian Mays. I'm
But
saying
how is it
Adrian Mays the
structured though?
Glaze
What's
because that's what it was when I met you. Was Adrian Mays the Glaze DJ?
Yep, they glaze.
nobody asked you all that now?
I was about to put it out there if she didn't.
Yeah. So it's just been fun. It's been fun. It's been a place where people can come, relax, enjoy themselves. They hear speakers tell their
Mhm.
stories. We have
Resources.
resources. We have different community organizations that come out and set up information tables. Um, we have this year, we're going to have the Kids Run for Recovery. It's going to be our first one. We usually do our $100 hula hoop contest, but this year it's going to be a Kids Run for Recovery. And also, this
Mhm.
Recovery Fest, it also is a fundraiser for New Creation Ministries, because we want to provide support to
Mhm.
people who are in recovery, to people who are struggling to overcome. Because a lot of times, when you come out of addiction, you don't have anything. When
Mhm.
you're coming out of jail and you want to change your life, you don't have anything. You don't have a whole lot to stand on. So if you can get into a place that's safe, like a recovery house, a recovery program, a program that maybe a little bit more long term. We want to be able to help you do that. We want to be able to help you stay. So we provide resources to help with housing, funds to help you, for a week or two, with your initial stay in the housing program. Connecting you with different organizations within the
Mhm.
community that can get you more resources.
Can you drop
That,
some names of some of these
yeah, yeah.
support
You have
organizations?
you have Kids with Hope, which is an organization that provides help and support to children of incarcerated parents. You have, of course, First Step,
Hmm.
which is an organization that provides you with support, encouragement. They have a treatment center, detox. If you fall, you can go into the detox. You of course have Centerstone.
Hmm.
You have Chrysalis House, which is a women's recovery house. You have Alina's House, which is men, or no, it's a family. This is a place where you can go as a family,
Wow.
and it's a safe environment. There's no drugs allowed. It's a place where you're going to have accountability. You have requirements when you live in these recovery houses. You have to go to meetings. You have Narcotics Anonymous, Alcoholics Anonymous, and when you go to these different programs, the people there link arms with you to help keep you standing, to help you stand through it all. So you're able to go there and vent and talk about whatever it is that's bugging you, to get it off your chest so that you don't allow it to pull you back down into a pit.
Right. And
Um,
the Recovery Fest, when is that? You having one this year, right? Can you give us information on that?
yes, it is going to be September 25th. And this year we're going to have it at Sutton Park in Palmetto. Yeah, we're going to move from we normally have it at Pride Park in Oneto,
Right.
but this year it's going to be at Sutton Park. It's going to take place. The time frame I believe is going to be from 11 to about 3 a.m. We're still working on that time frame, but it's going to be great. We have some great people set up, some great vendors coming out. We have Can Community um, Health Center. We have uh, oh goodness, what is this one?
So
I have so
make sure
many
make
brochures
sure
and
you got
stuff of every.
a
Oh,
generator out there too. So because
well,
that
they
also
have
your DJ need to add some power.
it's powered up already. They have power because Sutton Park already has a stage and that has
Yeah.
power already to it. So we don't need any generators, but uh, but you might need a cord with some outlets on it.
Exactly.
But
And
it's gonna be a fun time.
it's not and it's not just for people that's in addiction. Obviously we want to encourage those who have these issues to come out there, but it's for people to get information for their family members or anybody else to help teach
Right.
you as well how to deal with people that's going through addiction. So you have all the resources there, because naturally
Hmm.
the people that's going through the addiction, there's very few of them that's actually going to come out there,
Right.
because it's just like another place for them to go, as far as getting help and stuff like that. And sometimes they don't want help at the time, they
Right.
don't know. So this is really for the community to teach us, to show us, and provide resources for us to be able to deal with some of our family members and friends and people in addiction. So very important, very important.
Right. It's very
Absolutely.
much prevention, preventative, informative information, resources for you, so that you're able to have those conversations, talk with other people, who've been through it, of course, who may be going through something, and get a better understanding on how what it is, because what we want to do is we want to break that stigma. We want to break
Hmm.
the the notion that people who are using are bad people. They're not necessarily bad people. They're facing
Right.
bad choices,
Choices.
and now
Yeah.
those
Yeah.
consequences from the choices they've made are pretty much destroying their lives. And you see that. You see the
Right.
product of that. And so we as humans, we're judgmental. We judge the
Hmm.
appearance. God looks at the heart, but we look at what we see. And so when we see a
Exactly.
person like that, we sometimes will shake our head and what have you. But I always have to be mindful that, but for the grace of God, there go I. So
There's potential in everybody. So do you
absolutely,
mind, are you available for people to reach out to you?
most
Facebook, you don't mind
definitely,
if people reach out to you, because obviously you are a strong focal point because you've been through it, and leading somebody else. We can only give them positive information because we haven't experienced it personally. That's those of us who haven't experienced it personally, but those such as yourself is a strong focal point. So you definitely want to reach out to Marjorie on Facebook, right? And
right.
just if you have questions, she can answer them and lead you to resources and stuff like that. We have another guest that's coming in, so we really appreciate your time, Miss Marjorie. Thank you
Yes, we
so
thank
much.
you so much. Thank
Thank
you
you
so
guys
much.
so much. You guys have a wonderful and blessed day. And yes, please reach out to me at any time. If anyone would like to connect with me or contact me, more information about Recovery Fest, you can call me at 813-358-7729. That's 813-358-PRAY. Anytime.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
Thank you
you
much.
so
guys.
much.
Y'all have a blessed day. Thanks for
You
having
take
me
care.
You
on.
too.
Bye.
Absolutely.
Y'all want to go ahead and touch on that question? I mean, it
The
ain't got nothing to do with what we were talking about, but I feel like now it would probably be a perfect time just to
Put it up there. Absolutely.
I don't know how to respond to that, honestly.
Who's we getting
Who's
a
noise? Who's noise?
who's what?
somebody sound like it's an echo or something, like they got it on twice.
Yeah, I don't. All right. So what Nick suggested is that this comment from YouTube here, it's not necessarily the topic that's on hand, but we definitely want to touch on it because it did come through to us on YouTube. Fellas, y'all have before we get to our next guest, y'all have something to get at or this comment?
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, anytime you're dealing with, things of that nature, it's always a touchy subject, but it's the same formula for anybody is to show them love. It's the same form to show them love and support. Never try to keep their mind focused on what they can accomplish. What I like to do is to let people focus on what they can accomplish, what they can do, even if it's small things as far as being able to, have give a testimony to help somebody else or help other people go through something. If you can help them find a purpose, then it'll help them in their recovery process with anything. A lot of times purpose is the strongest drive in helping people overcome things is when you have a strong purpose. Either, if you listen to Miss Margie, she said that she didn't want to be an embarrassment to her kids and she wanted to do this. So that's a strong drive that she had to be that good example. And so sometimes if you have that, then it'll keep you focused. It'll build your discipline. When you have a focus, it builds discipline. And so that's the part of it, is just helping and making sure you keep them positive environment. Positive environment.
Perfect, Coach A. Thank you. I hope that answers your question. I don't want to badger your name, but I hope that does answer your question from YouTube. But now we got a second guest. We're going to go ahead and bring our second guest on. I want to give us 1 second. Miss Lani, how are you doing this morning?
Good, thank you.
Oh, hi. We can hear you now.
Yes.
Yes. I just want to say thank you for jumping on Family Talk. Fellas, this is my girlfriend Sam's cousin. That's going to come on and talk with us. Lani, just to let you know who everybody on the panel, you got me, B, and you got Chef Jimbo, Coach A, Johnny Drip Drip. You got Nick in the building as well.
Why is it?
Seems like that.
I think it's Jimbo. He had two things on.
No, it ain't.
You sure?
Yeah.
Is your computer off or your phone off?
I only got one.
We good now?
So
I can hear you.
Okay, awesome. I don't know what is coming from that.
Mute mine, see if it's me.
I'll mute yours. Hold on. We good now? No, it ain't Coach A.
It's still.
I'm gonna mute mine.
Say, is it all right?
I think it was
That's
you,
good.
Nick.
Yep, it's Nick.
It's Nick.
Nick, somebody fired your computer back up or something.
All right, but let's dig into it. We sorry for the technical difficulties. Let's dig into it. Lani, let's start out with we know what this is all about. This is all about addiction and recovery. So let's hear about your journey and how you got into it, your recovery process. Let's get a little bit a background about you a little bit.
So I actually grew up in a family recovery. Both my parents were a part of AA. And so for me as a kid, I was involved in Alateen. I attended Alateen once a week. There's times where I spoke at the roundup. So they meet once a year in my city, and they have speakers and stuff like that, and they raise awareness and just share their struggles and their hopes and stuff like that, their strengths. I didn't actually start using until I was 21. And it started out with alcohol, and then it turned to marijuana, and then it turned to meth for me. So my alcohol became a problem right away, right as soon as I started drinking. I'd have blackouts and stuff when I drank, and I don't know, the marijuana didn't come. One of my kids' dad, he used marijuana, and so when I started using marijuana, it was behind one of our fights that we got into, and so it was almost like a peace offering. That's basically how he approached me on it, and so I started using marijuana, and I would say I didn't really use that very much, but probably around 23 years old, I then started experimenting with coke for about 6 months, and what it would be is that the baby daddy that I was with, he was into different drugs, and so when my daughter would leave for the weekend to her father's house, I would end up using on those weekends. So it started out like in my mind, I rationalized it because my kid wasn't around me.
Okay.
And so, and then there came a point where I went to my parents. I also started using meth. I went to my parents and I told them that I had a problem. And my parents basically told me that I had to go to treatment. And so what I did was I signed up for treatment, did an assessment, and they placed me in outpatient treatment until a bed date opened for inpatient. And so I waited for about 6 weeks to get accepted into an inpatient program. And by the time I did, I was already 30 days clean. And so I told my family that I wasn't going to treatment, and I didn't. I quit using meth and I quit using weed at that time, but I was heavily dependent on alcohol again. And I was heavily dependent on alcohol probably from about 2002 to 2006, I want to say. Then I got in trouble drinking and driving, and I went into treatment. This time I did go into treatment. I went in for alcohol. I stayed clean off of the meth. I stayed clean off of meth for about 10 years, actually, before I started using it again. But I went into treatment and decided to quit drinking, and I quit drinking for 5 years, and I only smoked weed. And that seemed to work for me, but then I had a lot of losses that happened around me. I had a sexual assault that occurred for myself and my child, and I think it just triggered a lot of things for me. And instead of working my way through it, I think that I lost myself in that.
Okay.
So you started off drinking, you said, when you was about 21.
Yep.
How were you introduced to alcohol? Like at did you know about it, or did you experiment, or just 21 was the first time you tasted alcohol and you just kept going from there?
The first time I actually tasted alcohol, I was about 19 years old. My parents were pretty strict, being in recovery and stuff like that. Obviously, there was a no tolerance. And then the other thing with that is that, I heard enough stories, I lived my life with my mom when I was a kid, and I've seen things, and experienced things as a kid really early, up until the age of 5. I have memories of certain things. And so I just knew that I didn't, to put it bluntly, didn't want to be like my mom and drink.
Right.
And so, those were my famous fighting words when I was a kid. I feel horrible about that today, but those were some of my famous words, is I'm not going to be like you. So I had friends that introduced me to it. I had friends that were older than me. And I had friends that were younger than me, but my older friends introduced me to it, and I was able to get it that way.
That's interesting because for some people that strong desire to be opposite of their parents, to be not like their parents at times keeps them away from it. But
Yeah.
then, in your particular situation, as you got older, it was just something that you was used to seeing, and so naturally, when you started it, I'm sure you can relate to. Well, this is what my mom was doing. This is what I'm used to doing. So, and alcohol, I feel like it destroys. We know that it destroys a lot of people's lives just as much as any of the other drugs and stuff that's out there. I mean, as far as creating accidents and freedom, taking people's freedom from mistakes and stuff like that. Drinking and driving is just a real problem as well, so first of all, I would like to thank you again for coming on, telling your story,
Absolutely.
and because
I
it's
got
going to help millions of people. Go ahead, B.
All right, so Lane, I do have a question. This is more so on the recovery side of things. Probably the same question I asked Marjorie at the beginning of the show is when was there a point, because I know you were mentioning that you went to the drinking and smoking marijuana and then the meth, and then you said, I believe you said cocaine or coke. When during that process of being in the middle of addiction that you said to yourself, okay, I need some type of recovery. Okay, I need to do better with what's going on in life. When was that moment, and take us through that process, or the thinking going through the recovery process?
Well, I hate to say it, but I've actually had a few of those moments in my lifetime where, I decided that I needed to stop, and it lasted for like 7 months. I'll give you my most recent, what got me into recovery. Probably about 15 months ago, somebody shot me with a 45, and they shot me within 5 foot distance.
Oh wow.
And so, um, obviously that changed a lot of things in my life. It was about a week prior to the shutdown of COVID and everything happening with the COVID. So when I got shot, there wasn't a lot of resources that were available to me because everything was shut down. Like, I mean, all the way to housing, even so even if I wanted to get into a place, I wasn't able to get into a place because of COVID. So it took me about a year after the point of when I was shot to actually get into a situation where I could receive help from others and I could reach out for help. I do work with an organization today. I choose not to say that organization at this point, just because I'm still early on in my recovery, and there's a lot of things that I've yet to have to deal with. But this organization helps me a lot. I have a caseworker. They help me with I go to physical therapy. I do EMDR therapy. It's a form of desensitization therapy, where they might use something like a light or something, and they'll discuss things with you while you're in there, like go over memories. The other thing I do is occupational therapy, and I'm working with an educational and employment specialist. I am disabled now. I can't walk normal. I will never probably walk normal. I won't. So that's something I'm coming to terms with. But I guess so for me, it's been this last 6 months. This is where I'm at. This is the whole coming to a Jesus moment, we'll call it, that things need to change. I just I found that I was more victim to things too, more susceptible to things after I was shot. I felt like I was targeted more by people that were in the streets, or not even, when I say in the streets, I call out there actively using the streets, because you're in and out of environments that you wouldn't normally be in if you weren't using. And so to me, that's the streets. I'm not saying actually I lived out there on the streets. I can say that I was homeless and that I stayed with people, and that meant I got to know a lot of people that actually were on the streets, I guess. So I don't know. I suppose in some way I was on the streets being homeless.
Gotcha.
Question: just the whole shooting incident, was it a robbery or a fight or?
So what it was is I actually had just broken up with out of a relationship, and so I was staying at a hotel Me and my boyfriend had just separated, and I'm on parole, so I had to address with my parole officer. I had some charges that I needed to come back here and take care of in Sioux Falls, which was about 5 hours away from where I was paroled to. And my parole officer gave me permission to leave, but somebody had taken my storage unit keys like the night before I was shot. And one of the things I wanted to do was clear out my storage and take my stuff back to Sioux Falls. So when I went to go and get the keys from the person that actually took my storage unit, I got shot trying to find them, trying to find what room they were in. The person that came to pick me up, they drove from Sioux Falls to Rapid to get me because my car had broken down. Well, actually, somebody tampered with my vehicle because that's the kind of things that you get to deal with when you're using. But so they came to get me, and they had noticed that the person that I was walking with had a gun, and I didn't notice they had a gun. And so they yelled out to me to get in the car, and I looked around and still didn't see a gun. And when I got in the car, they shot through the car window, hit my driver, and then hit me in the leg. And it punched through. It went straight through my leg. I was really lucky it didn't blow my leg apart, you know.
Do you have any kids?
I do. I have a 24-year-old, a 20-year-old, and a 14-year-old.
14-year-old.
Awesome.
Okay. So you're right now you're still in the early stages, as you mentioned, right?
I am.
So what is your focus? Like, what's your focus on? I know you mentioned that, you're not going to be able to walk the same or whatever that situation is, but your focus, do you have a new purpose right now?
I do. I did put myself in a Oxford sober living house here in Sioux Falls. It's really it's a great organization. I love the house that I'm at. I've been there for about 3 months. And so right now, basically what I'm focusing on this year is my rehabilitation process. Because I waited a year before I started physical therapy, even after I got shot. And so that was very detrimental to me. But unfortunately, I wasn't done using after I got shot. I still continued to use after I was shot. So for me, like, it's focusing on, I just completed outpatient treatment. So I have aftercare, I do physical therapy, EMDR therapy. So this whole first year, in my opinion, is focused on, getting into that routine, reestablishing a fellowship and a circle of people that I can see as family and support.
Awesome. Coach, I got another question.
Yeah.
There's actually a question that Nick asked Marjorie. And I go ahead and answer it since Nick eating on those French toasts and eggs and stuff. But Marjorie, when did you come to a point where you felt comfortable like you are today? And I appreciate you coming on telling your story. When did you feel comfortable about speaking out on your story, and even knowing that you're still even in the recovery process of addiction? When do you come to the point where you're comfortable with telling your story and helping others with your story?
I think I made it. I think my anniversary date of when I was shot. So I would say March 13th this year, I made that decision that it's no holds bar. So I just got tired of seeing people with the same struggle as me. I got tired of seeing the same people hurting people. And so I'm just at a point where I don't care if you're doing something you shouldn't be doing and it affects me. I'm going to say something. Gotcha. That's where I'm at, because there's points where I could be at a AA meeting or an NA meeting, and I have people seeking me out outside of, right when I step out of my meeting, seeking me out to use. And so, like, for me, this probably isn't what people want to hear, but I'm going to put that on blast. If you're going to come ask me if I want to use and seek me out in an NA meeting or an AA meeting, I'm going to say, I got something to say about that. You know what I mean? Right. I'm trying to get my life back in order. And, I do have a child that's 14 years old that misses me and has missed out on so much with me. My older two, they were older when I really came out into the meth, which really is what affected me. I feel like that's what's probably destroyed a lot of my life, is the meth. But I'm in a point where I'm just ready to do what I need to do to have my family back around me and feel safe.
That's
Awesome.
awesome.
That's
So
awesome.
the reason I asked you that, obviously you mentioned focusing on your the rehab and stuff that you have to do, but do you have a life purpose? a
I do.
way a way of taking what you've been through, that the pain and the struggle that you've been through, making it something that can really have an impact here on earth, on people here on for people here on earth. And have you made that your life focus yet? Like, what does that look like? We have to try to turn that into something specific, not generalizing, something
Yep.
specific.
So this is this probably about a month ago I met with a local pastor, and so what I would like to do is I would like to be able to go in to jails and institutions or
Yeah.
anywhere where there's people that have had those same experiences as
Hmm.
me, and share my story. A lot of the people, because I grew up in group homes and placements from 11 to 18, so I was in 9 different group homes and placements. And so for me in my state, I can go to any side of my state and people know me from my group homes and placements and the time that I've done. And so I feel like I have an ability to reach out and help people all over as far as my state goes. And just like I feel like really ultimately is that I feel like there's going to be a time where I'm going to have to help my kids as friends. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying?
Yeah.
I don't feel that my kids don't at this point in my life that I'm aware of, they don't have an issue, but I feel like, I grew up completely abstinent as a child. And I never in a million years would have thought that I was going to end up an alcoholic or a drug addict. That was
Right.
not in my cards from what I thought. And my peers even were like, "What? You were so against it." But I
Hmm.
feel like I need to be able to help other kids out. I really do. I feel like mainly I do think younger. I think somewhere between the ages of 16 and 25 is really my focus, I guess, that I would
Hmm.
want to focus on because um my mom once told me that she had Googled this for me and looked it up, and I guess if somebody is not able to get out of their meth addiction within the first 3 years, they pretty much chalk them up as a goner, like, that there's no hope at that point. I'd like to think that's not the case, but so, if you're still in your addiction 3 years in, the odds of you coming out of it is a lot more difficult. So
Right.
I don't know. I just would like to be able to see people that may not have the knowledge or the tools or the resources, you know what I'm saying, or the
Yeah.
understanding.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That the statistics will change with people like you. So obviously, if you have people within the 3 years or whatnot, whatever the situation is, but with people like you, brave people to tell their story and to
Absolutely.
help lead people the right way, it doesn't matter how old they are, how long they've been in there, it has an impact on them. So you continue to do that. And just to let you know that it's never too late for you to change your persona, the way your kids view you, the way anybody see you. Yes, we all have a past, but the past starts right now. You can change the whole way people look at you by continuing on your path that you're on right now. And
Yeah.
the more you stay sober and you do what you're supposed to do, the stronger your testimony and impact you're going to have. It's only gets stronger and stronger, because we all have things that we've dealt with. Some people might be drugs, some people might be cheating, some people might be alcohol, whatever it is. But the more you stay on track and stay further and further away from that, the stronger your testimony gets, and you have a big, big impact. So definitely, but you got to keep that purpose. You got to keep that
Absolutely.
purpose.
Yeah.
I want you to think of it. I want you to think of a you heard of the word conviction, right?
Right.
Conviction,
Yes.
a lot of times when I not conviction as far as as
I'm
far
like,
as
yes, I know
court,
conviction.
not court conviction.
I
I had to
understand what you're
clarify
saying.
that. We have convictions inside of us like, yo, if I do this, it tells us
Right.
this is wrong, right? So what
Right.
you have to do is use your convictions. The only way you use your convictions is that if you have to give yourself a destination, just like a GPS. If you give yourself a destination, then your convictions is going to work like a GPS. You're going to be like, whenever something comes up and you headed the wrong direction, your conviction is going to say, nope, if you do this, it's going to take you off track. So you need to, curve that, or you need to stop doing that. So make sure you always, always, always have a destination that you're headed towards, and you make sure your conviction is locked in on that. If you want to continue to talk to kids in detention centers or wherever you're going to speak to them, then you make that the focal point of what you want to do in life, and find out exactly what you need to do more of that. And you continue to head that direction, right? And you know that if you go opposite, nobody's going to, if you're being hypocritical, nobody's going to listen to you, right? They're not going to listen to us. So if you're doing something opposite of what you're trying to teach somebody else, it's not going to work. And so just think of, it doesn't matter if your kids are 14 or if they get to be 50 years old, just knowing that you was able to turn your life around is going to give them so much pride in the person that you've become, that it's going to be amazing. So don't think that because you missed a lot of years or you messed some stuff up in the past, that's going to dictate where you can be in the future, because that's never the case. So the main thing is you stay focused.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was Coach A.
Stop.
But I just want to say to you, Lani, thank you for jumping on with us this morning, man. That was awesome for you to speak.
A lot of
on.
courage. Takes a lot of courage,
especially with you early into your recovery. I just want to say thank you. Samantha's proud of you. She's putting in some comments here. She's very proud of you and what you got going on. She knows all of your story. You just gave us bits and pieces, but she knows all of it. She's very proud of you and everything that you're doing right now. So we deeply thank you for coming on. You are more than welcome to come back to the family barbecue.
For sure.
All right.
Is there any way anybody can possibly get in contact with you if they have some type of struggle? How can someone get in contact with you?
Yep, you can reach me on Facebook under Lani Helgerson.
Perfect.
So it's HELGERSON.
Perfect.
And make sure you have resources to pass on to people as well. Most important, so that when somebody contacts you, you're leading them the right way.
Yep.
Absolutely.
I'm very resourceful when I want to be.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Lani. You have a wonderful, wonderful Saturday.
Thank you.
You keep it up. We got you in our prayer.
All right. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
All right. Bye. Thanks.
Fellas, I guess we got a little bit of time. Nick, man. Nick, man.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, man. You gotta tighten up, man. Tighten up,
man. Hey, man. To anybody that's watching, addiction is real. No matter what the addiction is, like Coach A said earlier, it can be drugs, alcohol,
cheating.
It can be porn. It can be anything. And addiction is real. If you are having problems within your family, or you see someone that's having problems within your family, man, do your best to help that family member out. You know what I'm saying? Don't shut them out. I think people that are addicted get shut out a lot, and faces turned at them a lot. And like Majorie and Coach A said earlier, Jody, like Majorie and Coach A said earlier, there's not that they're bad people. It's not like they're bad people. It's just a lot of bad choices. And all of us can sit on this panel, and we can't say that we've all made the best choices in our lives. So, hey,
you read Jody, man.
Jody, man.
There's no such thing.
He making me laugh. I'm trying to be serious, Jody. I'm trying to be serious. But yeah, man. That was dope. That was dope to have those two ladies on telling their stories today, man. That was real dope.
Drip, you ain't said nothing, man. What's up, brother?
What's up, Drip?
Well, I know y'all used to me talking.
Yes, we are.
Hey, you know what? We are so used to you giving us some jewels. You ain't say nothing today. You was just listening today, huh?
Yeah, because I had to learn, man. This is not a subject I fully understand. So,
Right.
I mean, so I have nothing really to offer. I mean, I'm on the other side of the coin. You know, I watch my family members,
Mhm.
you know, be addicted. And I'm talking about really close
Yeah.
family members, people, uncle and auntie that I grew up with,
Yeah.
admired, looked up to, and to see them, you know, like that, it's like, man,
Yeah.
you know, I ain't know how to, you know, handle it. You know what I'm saying? I
Right.
just didn't fully understand it. And, you know, I don't understand it to this day. It's like, man, you were some of the strongest people I know, and, you know, and this has happened to them.
Even the strongest people got their flaws, man.
I know, man, and it's just like something I really can't. I don't know. It just doesn't connect in my brain, like.
Yeah.
So it's not something I really. I mean, I can tell you my experiences about having them steal from me and you know stuff like that. But as far as you know, how to help and what to do and how to support, I don't know. You know, I'm still learning myself.
Right.
You know, like what can I do or how can I be and stuff like that.
Right.
But, you know,
Well,
so yeah, I
definitely just
knew y'all would be like, he quiet today. He don't have.
Yeah, that's the first thing Coach A was like. You ain't saying nothing today.
Yeah. So,
you know, I'm
but
like,
that's
man,
wisdom.
Yeah,
That's
Yeah.
wisdom. Sometimes if you don't, know what to say or have anything to say, you just,
it's best to listen.
sit back and soak it in. Yeah.
Yeah,
Let them
Yeah.
tell their story.
yeah, man, I'm not gonna blow sunshine up your butt, you know, and get up here and pretend like I know what I'm talking about. No.
Now we get Johnny. Now we get him.
Man. But
Yeah, so-
fellas, man, that was the show today. Awesome dialogue from our two guests, Lani and Marjorie. I'm gonna have Sam put up some phone numbers and stuff on our Facebook page. If anybody's having some type of trouble with addictions and needs some help, please visit our Facebook page here within the next hour or so. I'm gonna have Sam put some stuff up to help somebody that was possibly listening or somebody that may run across this and get them some help. You know, us here on Family Talk, we are more to talk to anybody. We can be reached on Facebook. A lot of y'all got our personal numbers anyway. So
but I had a quick question though before we go.
Yeah,
What are we had two ladies that that poured their hearts out today. What are some of the takeaways or some of the things that just kind of wowed you, or just that from what we heard today? And I'll just tell you off myself that one of the things was with Miss Margie, how she was introduced at 12 years old. Like, it seemed to me like that's super young to be introduced to to drugs and stuff at that young age. Like, that really took me back. Like, man, like they really people, there's really adults and people out there that's introducing drugs to 12-year-olds.
That's
Oh,
crazy.
yeah.
That's
It
crazy.
is.
That's crazy. I think for me, the wow for me is when Lani was saying what she was going to her AA meetings and stuff, and then that people are still trying to get her to use.
Yeah.
Trying to see that she's trying to get her life together, and you're still trying to get her to use. You know what I'm saying? That's sick. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's humans hurting humans, and that's just that was my wow moment. I don't know if y'all saw my face was like, they still trying to get you to use, and you're trying to recover.
Right outside. And the way she told it, like, you're right outside. Like, as soon as she left the building, they like, yo, come here, man.
Like the moment you crack the door open, they already talking to you. Like,
exactly.
that was crazy for me. What about you, Nick?
What was the question?
out of the you heard both of the interviews.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
was there anything that stood out to you that kind of shocked you, or that really pricked your heart? Like, wow, this is either cool that you're doing, or wow, I can't believe you had to go through that, or something like that.
I mean, I think nothing really amazes me these days. I mean, in our family, we had drug addicts in our family. I mean, as a kid, we really didn't know it, but as you grow up, you realize and you look back that yeah, they were addicts. And I mean, like I said, nothing too much. Because I mean, look at DMX when he started. It was friends and family that gave it to him at the age of like 12 or something like that.
Yeah.
So I think when I first heard it from DMX, it was a shock. But then it's like anybody else could probably be going through the same thing he went through, or even younger. So
Yeah.
it's tough.
Johnny Drip.
Yeah, man. For me, it was just the ladies themselves, how they found their strength.
Yeah.
To come up out of it.
Yeah.
And to fight up out of it. That's is an admirable quality.
Yeah.
To me, and that just shows, the determination of that human spirit.
Absolutely.
To beat down and defeat a vice, an enemy, to keep going. Every day is a struggle, but you keep going. You keep finding that strength, and you keep that demon at bay. That to me, that I can't say any more about it. That's just
That's real talk.
all struggle.
Real talk.
Yeah, it is. So I had some information that I just want to share.
Yeah.
Some of the celebrities, right? And I mentioned this Thursday, some of the celebrities that I looked up that, died from drugs, right? So y'all remember the Joker, right? Heath Ledger.
Yeah,
Heath Ledger, yes.
Yeah, he was young.
The
Shout
best
out.
Joker ever.
Listen,
Yeah.
shout out to Heath Ledger. He was the best Joker ever.
Yes, he was.
But he was another one of those situations that he delved into his character so much that anything like that crazy. I mean, it just messed him up mentally, and he just I don't know that was a crazy situation. Like you do your job so good that you come out with the repercussions of dying from it.
Well, I don't. Where do you get that because he did his job so good that he came out with repercussions?
They say he went to a dark space to play the Joker.
Oh, okay.
That's
Like
what
it wasn't like he was just playing the Joker just to a role, but they actually said like he went into a dark area of his life to play that role.
And he just never came out of it. Wow. Yeah. So he died I think it was prescription drugs. He had a prescription drug overdose. Jimmy, and he was young too, like 27, 28. Same thing, Jimi Hendrix. Y'all know Jimi Hendrix?
Yeah.
Yep. He OD'd too, and he was young, like between the ages. And when I mean young, mind these cats are under 30. It was under 30. Yep. And then of course some of the older people. This was shocking. I mean, was Prince. And Prince OD'd. He OD'd on fentanyl.
Prince,
I think Prince was murdered, man. I don't think he did.
You think he was murdered?
Yeah, I think they killed Prince because ain't never heard of Prince doing no drugs, man.
Well, I mean, yeah.
So,
yeah. It could be the case because I haven't heard of him doing drugs.
Right.
Sure. So
all of a sudden he just gonna do drugs.
But it was during that time. It was during that time that they was lacing the drugs with all this extra stuff like the fentanyl, the medical grade drugs and stuff like that. They was mixing that stuff together, and a lot of people was passing away. I don't know if y'all remember that, but a few years ago, a lot of people was dying from that. It's around that time. And so
also you can also mention Chris Farley.
Yep.
Comedic great. That dude Farley. He was fantastic. I love his comedy.
He was an overdose too?
Yeah, he died of drug overdose too.
Yeah.
He's up from this way. He's from Wisconsin, up this way.
Who else? Whitney Houston.
Yeah.
She actually they say her cause of death was actually drowning, but she had like cocaine and stuff in her system, drowning in the bathtub. So we know it's a connection. People don't just drown in the bathtub. So
Right. Yeah. You said her daughter, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Bobby something.
Bobby Christina.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
What did she overdose too?
Yeah.
Wow.
And the son. Their son recently just died too from drugs.
Wow, that's crazy, man.
It is.
It's crazy.
So
it's so sad. So sad.
Yep. But Brandon, you go ahead and take it away, man. That's all I had to add to it, just to let the people know, and just some names that touch bases, with people as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, man. Again, fantastic show. Hats off to the young ladies that came on and told us their stories. Jimbo taking care of the girls, so we'll sign off for Jimbo for us. And hey man, y'all can catch us next week. Y'all catch Impact on Thursdays with Coach A.
Thursday nights.
Thursday nights with Coach A. And we'll see y'all next week at the Family Barbecue. It's your boy B.
Coach A.
Nick.
Johnny Drip,
and Chef Jimbo.
I'm Chef Jimbo.
He used the same voice for everybody he impersonate.
I do.
Hey man, I love you guys.
I've changed my voices.
We'll talk to y'all. Y'all have a blessed Saturday. We see y'all later.
Peace.
They wasn't worried about me last year when the cashier sent me to my car when I came short. Now I got the game torn. They either hate it or love it. Slim chances on advances, I just balanced the budget. Fuck it, free my niggas on my Harriet Tubman. They said I'd never be the greatest, that's a scary assumption. But now I'm buzzing like the last shot. Got these lanes tied, old